The sun is out slightly, but about 20 minutes ago it was very dark, very windy, and very rainy.
Very gushing.
Like everything is soaked, and it only rained for about half an hour. So it was quite a violent storm.
That's kind of been life in Omaha. It's like you think that Fargo is temperamental with its weather, but like here it's just like so much more finicky.
Like imagining North Dakota with no Minnesota next to it. Well, I suppose there's Missouri.
There is, but there's also just like lots and lots of open land here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nothing to stop all of those weather patterns.
It's been pretty hot down there too. We got up to 100 yesterday.
Intermittently, yeah. It was. It's been over 100 several times. It was 98 today.
Yeah, we're about on par up here too.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for the family reunion we had on Saturday, it only got into the mid 80s and it was windy all day, so it was actually kind of cool, which I was okay with. But it made the picnic part a little difficult. But it was good to reconnect with some family members on my mom's side, and overall, pretty good weekend. Managed to celebrate Father's Day with my pops and / late Michelle's birthday.
You also got to wish my brother a happy Father's Day too.
That is true. I did. Let's see. I suppose that's probably the last time I'll be seeing Father David before he goes to his new assignment.
Yes, because
I think this weekend is like
weekend
officially last before they move.
Yeah, next weekend they're having the potluck goodbye dinner and final mass at Sacred Heart anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting to meet the new guy. Apparently he's pretty cool.
Now, did you guys have Corpus Christi festivities on Sunday?
We at IPF have basically nothing on Sundays, so it's kind of free reign to go around the Omaha area. So, yeah, I went to a Corpus Christi procession at St. Peter's Church here in Omaha.
It was
very nice.
I was at Sacred Heart on Sunday, so they were having their Eucharistic procession on Friday since it's the Feast of the Sacred Heart and kind of their parish feast day.
Sure.
But yeah, it sounded like they were doing them all over the place. Even at Holy Rosary, they were doing a Eucharistic procession.
Which we started last year.
Oh, really?
When I was there, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I did the whole incense, the Blessed Sacrament walking backwards thing. We did a very short procession because it was in the hundreds that day.
Yeah.
We basically went around the block.
Would have been about that this year too, so kudos to the servers and the priests and everybody investments on a day like that. I've been there. It's not fun.
I elected for the alb. I didn't want to do cassock and surplice.
Well, the surplice
that hot.
with the white, it does reflect some of the heat, but it's
also an extra layer, and it's a pretty thick thing too.
That's true. Depending on some parishes have the really thin, slippery surplices for some reason, and others are really thick. It's great when we did that one Eucharistic procession on campus in December, which was a horrible idea, but it was really cool because we got pictures of Eucharistic procession in the snow. But it sucked because our hands and ears were freezing serving it, and two of the servers passed out when we got back inside the church.
Oh,
that was freshman year, so that was kind of a wild ride. But the Newman Center annually does a Eucharistic procession. I'm not sure if they've been able to recently, but
it's been a little difficult to get anything going in the temporary building and an unfinished building.
Yep. So, but
and the fact that it's been COVID and you don't want to have large groups of people walking around campus together.
Mm-hmm. So, but it was a cool tradition, and after that, we switched it to October, which worked much better. Because a lot less likely to be 13 below during October, although you never really know.
I mean, it could. It has been in the past.
Yeah. So, let's see. What else is new? How was your silent retreat?
Oh, the land of Notaki was very blessed.
Good.
The Lord had many graces in store for me. It would take the whole episode to do them justice. So let us just say that God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
All the
Indeed.
time.
I have learned something new. So I learned about one of our 2 listeners recently. Has been my mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hello, Tracy.
So if you're listening, hello. I'm bringing it up like you didn't want me to do.
She lasted longer than my mom. She didn't even get through the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, really?
Good job.
You listening to this? And she's like, yeah, I like hearing my children talk.
Wow.
And apparently, we have some good things to say sometimes.
I guess we need to watch what we say.
Nah. At this point, it's too late.
The way we run this show is clean enough that there is nothing that moms would object to. Probably.
I mean, my mom would be weirded out by some of the things, but not totally scandalized.
But, nothing objectionable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not far from the point of our show. So
yeah. Well, thank you for listening.
We are totally unapologetic about our memery, and we're just going to keep doing it.
Not that it would be any use apologizing, because it's more or less ingrained at this point.
And I'll be honest,
I don't think we could continue doing the show without it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's just our interpersonal chemistry.
Yeah.
And some of the things I grew up doing and saying with my siblings, I think
constant.
This is nothing new.
Yeah. Remains constant.
Just a little more developed, shall we say.
Mm-hmm. The humor style of my family is more along the psychological warfare lines. So the sort of silly babble, as my mom would see it, is maybe a little less appealing.
We have always been pure, unadulterated silliness.
Yes. So.
My dad's siblings are purely silly with each other sometimes too. There are some family reunions. We have recorded some skits that are kind of wild.
I believe it.
My dad wore a dress. I will say nothing else.
Yeah. Knowing your dad, I would not put it past him. I was going to say, yeah, we try to bill ourselves as a Catholic podcast, and we take the 6 commandments seriously, with our unadulterated silliness. So,
yes.
But yeah. Oh gosh.
In other new things, the new Hollow Knight trailer.
There was no release date yet, which bummed me out, but it's coming free to Game Pass, I guess.
What was there E3, or what was the video game thing?
It's the guy that does the Game Awards. He did something called Summer Games Fest, I believe.
Okay, yep.
There was because E3 isn't happening this year.
I watched the Donkey summary, and he didn't sound all that. Of course, he's never impressed, but
there was no Mario or Donkey Kong.
Yeah. It didn't sound like there was a ton going on, but a few exciting things.
A few interesting
things.
And
also, new interesting thing in my world is Stormgate.
Ooh. Okay.
Which is the new RTS by Frost Giant Games, who are a bunch of old Blizzard employees that made Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2.
Gotcha.
So I am very excited about that.
Other cool games news is this week I figured out a way to capture my 3DS on my computer. There's a mod out there where you can stream your video through the internet, and if you have the program set up with your 3DS's IP address and stuff, you can pull up the video on your computer. So I can capture and stream that over Discord to my siblings so we can play games, or if we wanted to. There's not that many 3DS games I really recommend,
it's a pretty cool setup.
It's a pretty cool setup. And the weird thing is, it captures the video but not the audio. So I have to plug in an aux cable into the microphone in, and then I have to...
I'm surprised that works, honestly.
Yeah?
A lot of the times it's this should work, but it's not because the computer's being dumb, but it sounds like it
worked just fine.
Nice.
And then I had to set up OBS to capture the audio and play it back as a monitor so I could actually hear it, and then also capture the video that was already being... So it was kind of a roundabout setup, but I got it to work. And then I streamed the OBS window through Discord to share it with people there.
Nice.
So it's just... That was a fun little adventure experiment, watching
as John
2 YouTube
said,
tutorials.
You voided the warranty?
they're pulling support for the 3DS eShop. The warranty doesn't matter at this point. I bought it secondhand anyway.
Yeah. I suppose, speaking of things no longer being supported, Internet Explorer is finally dead. Somebody made a memorial stone for it that says, Internet Explorer, you were great for installing other browsers. It's like the epitaph. It's like a granite. Like I suppose it could have been photoshopped, but so the article went around. But yes, lots of frustration just trying to upload a Word document to my homeschool curriculum site to turn in a test or an assignment over the years. So good riddance, I say.
Oh, Internet Explorer. You walked so everybody else could run.
Yep.
Back when Internet Explorer was OG and it was like the best browser out there, those were good days. But
True.
Those were like the early 2000s.
That was by
like
default,
the end
though.
of the AOL era.
Yeah. It was sort of the best browser
Safari
by default.
existed and was a competitor, and there were other browsers out there like Netscape and other stuff like that.
True.
It's like it kind of was top of the line for a while. And then Firefox came out.
And then they rested on their laurels. The trouble I ended up having with Firefox is that like every update, it would just get more and more sluggish. And then Chrome came along.
Yeah, because they did Chromium, and Chromium is it's very heavy.
Do you guys remember any like the marketing for Chrome? Like
No.
when they were first like pushing it? I just remember seeing ads where they'd be like, this is how long it takes to refresh a web page in Chrome, and it would show something in slow motion that was like slightly slower. I don't know what it was about that, but that just stuck in my brain.
Then it was good advertising.
Yeah, I guess so. Like 12 years later, which is weird to be able to say. Like, I'm only 25, but it's weird to be able to remember things more than a decade with clarity in the past.
Also, you're now 25.
I am 25.
Yes.
That is something I don't think has happened since the last.
Yeah, that was
recording.
between this podcast and last because of the way the recording ended up being. But well, no, that would have happened regardless. So I guess when we released the last episode, I turned 20, or I just turned, no, whatever. It was Tuesday. I turned 25 last Tuesday.
Congratulations, you're a square.
Yes, as Nathan so kindly pointed
Mathematically speaking.
Yep.
And from the point of view of a certain Kulzer.
Yes, who
Just
Nathan
existentially.
just had to share. It's funny though, like all he did was send me the screenshot of the text you sent him.
It was just me saying, hey, 5 times 5 is 25. He's a square. Bully him.
So,
he's the first of us to go.
Yeah.
Yes. And I am shortly to follow.
Yes. In about, a week and a half?
We're in 2 podcast episodes.
Yeah. Actually, when we release the next podcast episode, Nathan will be 25.
Yes.
Cool beans. And then Riley, you're about a month from now.
Another week and a half after that, yeah.
So yes, our aging month continues apace.
Yep.
Palladian Aging Month. That's what we need to reclaim this month in our society. But it doesn't actually inhabit a calendar month. It's just like middle of June to middle of July. It's like Palladian Aging Month. We raise awareness for the fact that we
Palladian
get a year
aging
older.
slightly more than a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 22 minus 14 is not 0. I mean, yeah.
Fair enough. Speaking of not 0, we're the Palladian Papists. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Riley.
We are doing another philosophical on Megamind.
In a world where one man will decide whether to pull a lever and kill one man, or not pull a lever and allow 5 people to die, find out in Philosophical.
So yes, I apologize for the ear trashing bumper right now. I will eventually come up with a fix for it, but it is what it is. So yes, Megamind, the Dreamworks film, which I believe came out. What was it? Gosh, this movie might be older than I think it is.
2008.
I don't think it's that old.
No, it wasn't that old.
2010.
Okay.
It came out in 2010.
I know it was the same year as Despicable Me, and so
oh yeah,
the other villain turned good marketing juggernaut kind of overshadowed it.
yeah, simply due to exposure, I suppose.
And also being
Minions!
created to be marketable.
Yeah,
This one has a minion too, though.
that's true.
Of a
It
different
does.
kind, and his
But it
name is
doesn't
just
have-
Minion.
It doesn't have yellow denim overall wearing creatures
No,
that
it has-
became the mascot of boomer Facebook moms for a time.
No, it has a fish furry robot. So
Let's see. So, Megamind, you have essentially what looks almost like a Superman origin story, right? You have a little Megamind, born on this planet. He's a little blue alien, ba-da-dee-da-ba-die. And his planet is about to get blown up. So his parents put him on a ship and send him to the next inhabitable planet in hopes that he might have a better life there. So along the way, another evacuating ship bonks into his with another baby on board with the same general idea. I think the two planets were like crashing into each other. And Megamind's ship gets pushed off trajectory and he ends up in a prison.
when
Whereas
the other
this
baby crashes into a
rich
rich
family's home
house,
on like Christmas, I think. So
something like that.
Megamind ends up being raised by the
The
somehow
inmates at
he's
the
like
prison. He's just
imprisoned.
adopted.
He's adopted by the prisoners and is forced to like live like a prisoner, even though he hasn't done anything. He's literally a baby. But Metro Man is the other kid. And so over the years, as they grow up, by circumstances, Megamind's like, you know what? I think everybody's rejecting my inventions and not accepting me. I think I'm just going to lean into this whole bad guy thing. If they don't
Maybe
like
that's
me-
what I was meant to be.
A
Because
bad
as his parents were sending him away on his ship, they're like, it's your destiny to, and then the thing closes and he goes away. It's like, I don't know what my destiny is. I didn't finish that. Maybe my destiny is to be evil.
Mm-hmm.
I can live with that. That'll work.
Yeah. So that's what he rolls with. And with Megamind went on the ship was this little minion companion who's like this thing in like a fishbowl, but he later in life makes a mech suit that minion gets to walk around with.
Mm-hmm.
So and then Megamind becomes the goody two shoes.
Not Megamind. Metro Man.
Metro Man becomes the goody two shoes.
A dollar store Superman.
Dollar store Superman.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt in the 3D animated flesh. And so they go back and forth. They have this big superhero villain rivalry until one fateful day, Megamind's like, ooh, I have the ultimate trap. And they lure Metro Man once again to an abandoned observatory
Where he thinks his a reporter supposedly girlfriend is the Lois Lane of the
what's her
picture.
Because she's
She becomes a major player in the
Yep.
whole story.
Roxanne Ritchie, the
Yes.
reporter.
Rocks.
So she's abducted. Megamind breaks out of prison once again. They trap Metro Man in this observatory, and
they're
something
about to-
starts to go wrong. Although in like a way that's advantageous, Metro Man can't seem to get out of this observatory, try as he might, and they're getting ready to shoot a laser powered by the sun at him, and he's like, "Oh man, my weakness is copper. I can't get out." You're kidding, right? And before they can stop the laser, it zaps Metro Man and he's gone.
All that's left is a skeleton.
Just a pile of bones. And Megamind's like, I can't believe it. I won. I can just take over the city now. So he takes over the city now. And, he just walks into City Hall, sets up shop in his office, and is just kind of celebrating.
Meanwhile,
After-
everybody's missing Metro Man, including
Yeah.
Roxanne, who is one of his big supporters.
Yep.
So her and her cameraman are doing sad stories about how Metro Man's dead, and her cameraman's like, "Hey, you want to come by my place later? We'll have a good cheer you up a
bouncy
bit."
bouncy castle. And she turns him down because he's, not she's not really interested. It's like, oh dang it, they don't like
Jonah Hill
houses.
in the animated flesh.
They don't like bouncing houses. They like clowns. You idiot. So, oh gosh, what's the name of the Hal? I think
Hal is his name. Yeah.
Yeah, Hal, the cameraman. So, over a few weeks, Megamind starts to get a little bored with his victory because, after all, with Metro Man being gone, he's lost the yin to his yang.
You can't really be a villain without a hero to oppose you, right? It's like that. That's how
what
the
good is
circle
absolute
works.
power anyway? So one night he goes to the memorial statue of Metro Man, and also there in mourning is Roxanne. I forget how exactly it happens, but Megamind uses his watch to steal the face of the janitor, and
to disguise himself. He's like, I don't want to be seen here mourning my enemy.
Yep, and he blows up the statue. He's like, I came here to mourn and to blow this thing up. And he brings Roxanne out of the building. And so over time, in disguise, Megamind starts to build up a friendship with Roxanne, and kind of starts to have a thing for her. But he's got to keep his secret because she could never like him if she knew what he really was. And so he comes up with this bright idea. What if he were to create a new superhero that he could fight? So
right,
he does
there's a couple of key ingredients that you need for a superhero. Mm-hmm. You need superpowers. You need a tragic origin story type of thing.
Yep.
And you need a good candidate.
Yep. So he's going around town looking for somebody to shoot with this giant syringe with the superhero stuff.
With the DNA of Metro Man in it.
Yep. And he accidentally shoots Hal with it, the cameraman. And then over the course of time, Roxanne, in their relationship, has been being a journalist, trying to shine a light on the things that are going wrong in the city. Megamind starts nefariously cleaning up the streets, and getting rid of the trash and making things nice around town. Minion's starting to get a little leery of this because I thought we were doing the whole evil thing. But anyway, in the meantime, Hal discovers he's got superpowers all of a sudden. And so...
and then Megamind shows up in a new disguise and is like...
I am your space dad. Hal...
I
am your father. So he starts to train him up as to be a superhero. And he's got all of Metro Man's powers.
So he can fly. He's
Superman. He can shoot the lasers from his eyes. He's super strong, all this stuff.
Does he tell them to give them the plant?
Nope. I can't let you do that, Dave.
Yeah. And so once he's trained up, he's like, all right, I dubbed thee Titan. You're the new superhero.
It's like, why'd you call me Titan?
That's the only name I could trademark. He gives him his suit, and he's like, okay, go get ready to battle Megamind. And he goes back to being...
Superhero always gets the girl, doesn't he?
Yep. And guess who's the girl that
Hal would like to get?
It's Roxanne. So he's like, all right, go get ready to fight Megamind. And then he goes back to being Megamind, and he builds this giant mech suit. He's like, all right, we're going to battle just like the old days with me and Metro Man. But Hal has got all this power, and Metro Man suits up. He's got this giant mech suit. Or Megamind.
Both begin with M.
Yeah. He gets this giant mech suit already, and he's going to fight, and Titan never shows. So he goes to his apartment. He's like, hey, what's the deal, dude? Why aren't we fighting? He looks around the apartment. There's all this very expensive stuff that's just kind of adorning this tiny little apartment. And Hal's like, this doesn't belong to me. And he's decided to become a villain himself because it's more fun. And he had tried to basically kidnap Roxanne and force her to go on a date with him. And she's like, no. He's like, I thought if I was the hero, I'd get the girl. And
that's not how it works.
Right.
You're not even a good guy.
Mm-hmm. And so by accident on a date, Roxanne finds out that Megamind is not Bernard. He is, in fact, Megamind.
And so she gets very huffy with him and angry at him and walks out on him.
Yep.
As to be expected.
Minion, I forget what exactly their fight was.
Well,
about.
their fight was you like Roxanne, and you're I'm not cool with that. You're the bad guy. You don't get the girl.
Yep. So they have this little falling out. And Megamind ends up getting into a fight with Titan and gets the crap beat out of him. And now Titan's going crazy and like blowing up the city because he's basically unstoppable. So
although he even busted out of Megamind's ultimate trap. He made a cage out of copper, but he just popped out
unfazed. So like, well, crap, we got to go to one of Metro Man's old bases to try to see if we can learn something about his powers to try to stop Titan.
So yeah, Megamind and Roxanne are teamed up again. They're headed to one of
my old schoolhouse, where they go to the schoolhouse, which they find out was one of Metro Man's
Fortress of Solitude.
Fortress of Solitude, basically. And they're like, wait a minute, there's ice in this glass. Somebody's here right now. And they turn around, and there is definitely not dead Metro Man sporting a beard and a robe and a bunch of music memorabilia for some reason. He's like, yeah, that day when you quote unquote killed me, I went into super speed and kind of had a long, quick thought about what I wanted to do with my life. You know, I wasn't feeling very fulfilled with the whole hero thing. I decided I really wanted to pursue my passion as a singer. And so I faked my death and became a country musician. And he tries to demonstrate, but he just has a terrible voice. But somehow he's still successful because he's Metro Man. He's like, they're like, well, you're the only one who can stop Titan. He's going crazy. He's like, no, I found my path in life. You need to find your path in life, little buddy. And so that sort of forces Megamind to rethink his role in society, whether or not he was truly meant to be a bad guy. And so he gets into a fight with Titan. You know, like Minion comes back to help him out. They do a little fake out where it's like Minion in disguise as Metro Man to try to freak out Titan and get him to leave. And the goal being they're going to take the superhero power inducing pill that accidentally got shot up Hal's nose and try to extract it. The fight doesn't go terribly well. Megamind in the battle ends up getting dropped from like multiple stories high in the sky while trying to save Roxanne. He's sort of saved last minute by the dehydrating gun, and he lands in a fountain, saved by Minion. And I think they managed to extract the little superhero power thing from Hal, so he's not powered anymore. Mm-hmm. And Minion's like, oh, I'm dying. Oh, I've sacrificed myself for you. And then Megamind just nonchalantly picks him up and throws him in the fountain because he's a water creature, so he's not actually dead. So it's a happy ending. Megamind bucks the trope. He's the bad guy who became a good guy, and he got the girl. So that's the end of the movie. He's a good guy now.
It's taking some adjusting time. He's not used to positive attention, but
yep.
Yeah.
I think at one point, they do like sort of a mirror of like the appreciation rally that Metro Man had at the beginning. And he's like, all right, now hand over your wallets. And everyone stops like, what? Haha, gotcha. So that's Megamind in a nutshell. So I believe we've all seen Megamind, yeah?
I have not actually seen it.
You haven't?
Oh, really?
Well, there's a lot more to like. That was a very condensed version of the plot.
You've gotten better at the summaries.
Mm-hmm. And being, an animated movie, it's not too terribly difficult to sum up. So I guess what are some things you liked about Megamind, Nathan?
I like how intelligently it's written.
Yeah.
For like a kid's animated film, it doesn't feel like it's talking down at all. And I always appreciate those because on the one hand, it's like, oh yeah, fun superheroes flying around and beating each other up when you're a kid. But then when you're an adult, it's like, oh, there's kind of an interesting romance here. There's kind of an interesting, discussion about your tropes and your stereotypes and how do you respond to those.
Forging an identity for yourself and all that.
Like, because we're not destined for evil, right? That's like, nobody is. Maybe.
And that's very evident in Megamind's character because, like, he only happened to land in a prison. He only, he, kind of got the short end of the stick with like not being able to make friends and anything like that. And Metro Man in his own right was sort of forced into this box where he's like the golden boy.
Yeah, he's had everything he ever wanted, so he doesn't know what he wants.
Mm-hmm. And Megamind kind of runs into the same problem when he wins the battle and takes over the city. He's like, well, crap.
Now that I've gotten this thing I've been pursuing my whole life, was it worth it?
Mm-hmm. And he tries to sort of revive what his old life was with disastrous consequences. He's like...
Because it turns out it takes a lot more than powers to make a hero.
Yeah. And he was sort of running against the current in that he was like trying to relive his past when he was really supposed to forge a new like life for himself, as like undergo a change as a character.
In general, there's like kind of a big nature versus nurture theme, where it's like, sure, we all have a fallen nature, but it's not, we're also made for good, right?
Yeah.
It's not his nature to be evil. That's just the unfortunate circumstances driving him to make that decision.
Maybe he doesn't have to be, maybe he's not an evil genius. Maybe he's just a genius.
Right.
So.
And it was kind of neat to see in that final battle all of his gadgets and such that were being used for evil earlier, like the dehydration gun used in his prison break when he didn't like people, right?
I
think he dehydrated Bernard, actually.
Yeah, there's a bit where like at the end, like a post-credit scene where like Minion's doing laundry and then he like throws some of Megamind's like pants in the wash, and then there's like a couple people like rehydrate out of the washing machine.
Right.
It's like, you've left those dehydrated cubes in your pants pocket again. All right, here's the forget me stick.
But like, it was neat to see the flip where at the beginning of the movie he has all these inventions he's using for evil, but at the end, like, no, there's actually an application for good here.
And his parents were right. He was capable of great things. It turns out he had just sort of filled in the blanks on what he thought his destiny was supposed to be, in a rather misguided way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's witty dialogue. The voice acting's great. Like you have Will Ferrell, you have
and I like how
Jonah Hill,
this is
Brad
from
Pitt is Metro Man.
I mean, this is 2010 DreamWorks, but it doesn't fall back on some of the child gross out humor.
Yeah,
that DreamWorks had been known for a while.
DreamWorks was on sort of a dry spell because all they knew how to make was Shrek movies for like 10 years, and there was a couple of good ones in there, but
like Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda was good. Chicken Run was good. Stuff like that. But this was like in 2010. This was like sort of where they kind of got back on track a little bit.
I mean, can you truly say they got completely back on track when
they
also
screwed
made
it up
Boss
after
Baby?
that? Well, they had like Monsters versus Aliens.
They
or whatever.
found a niche that was good. They hit
it was
the
sort of a
right
diamond
spot.
in the rough.
Yeah,
an unexpected success. Yeah, let's see. I guess
I could never like forgive Boss Baby's existence.
It also has a sequel for some reason
because that needed to happen, and
it definitely didn't
TV
need
show.
to happen.
Oh, sure.
Just the
like
fact
the Netflix
that
original thing,
something like that.
Yeah,
when
that
they
a
would
Boss
greenlight
Baby
anything.
won animated film of the year over A Silent Voice. It's just tragic.
Yeah. But we've brought that up enough times.
We've beat that dead horse to death.
Yep. Any other cool things about Megamind before we go into the analysis?
I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot that... I mean, we've already talked about some things that might arguably fit into the analysis.
Right.
But, like, aside from the fact that it's just a refreshingly, surprisingly good and mature animated film. And mature in a... like
very
mental and emotional way, not in a content way,
Yeah, it's very accessibly presented, but still well executed.
And I like how, I mean, this was the beginning of Marvel stuff, right? And
yeah, right.
There was a lot of but this one subverted the tropes of superhero stories in ways that were interesting.
2010. This was pre-Avengers 1,
right?
When this came out, so it was like just MCU was just starting to rev up.
But it's like superhero stories had been around for a while, and this is obviously riffing on your Superman Lex Luthor dynamic with the brains versus the all-powerful godlike being.
Yeah, Megamind is one of those movies where I'm glad it came out when it did because they didn't feel the need to make sequels of it.
Right? They could.
It was good to leave it as a standalone. They did like an animated. They did like a short, like
right.
where like Megamind's doing a garage sale of all his old like evil stuff, and it goes a little off the rails with like this AI he forgot he built.
Oh sure.
So it was that's kind of a fun little thing, but yeah, there's no like proper sequel, which I think is totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, as a story on its own, it makes its point, and then goes home.
I like a story that knows when to go home when it's done well.
I'd rather
we can expect the sequel in 2025.
Yeah, because
that will have been 15 years after the original,
when DreamWorks,
following the pattern of The Incredibles.
At least when if DreamWorks is still around at that point, we'll see.
It was somebody threatening to buy them?
No, they've just been kind of.
I can't think of the last DreamWorks movie that came out.
Every time I see a good movie by DreamWorks, I'm like, wait, DreamWorks made that? Because they came out strong. Like, they started out where they had, like, well, obviously Shrek, but also, like, The Road to El Dorado.
Prince of Egypt?
Prince of Egypt.
Prince of Egypt's a phenomenal film, actually.
Yeah. So they had some great
stuff. That was before they started doing CGI.
3D, yeah.
Yeah.
That was before everybody did 3D.
Yeah. And then there was, like, Chicken Run and a few other things. And then, there was kind of a dry spell where all they knew how to do was Shrek sequels and Megamind.
And then Shark Tale.
Oh, gosh, yeah, Shark Tale happened.
Will Fish.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I guess...
they did the How to Train Your Dragon stuff.
Oh, yeah, How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah, that's...
I haven't seen the third one. I enjoyed the first two. I haven't read the books, though, so that...
I still haven't seen... Well, you should watch the third one at some point, then we can maybe comment on the trilogy.
Maybe. Or you could... Well, I have not seen the third Kung Fu
It's
Panda.
another one that I can complain about the books about.
True.
There you go. Use that Saltcast bumper finally.
That's my favorite activity is...
Yeah.
Being
especially
salty about the book.
The Cloudy with a Chance at Meatballs, man. They took that source material.
Yeah, just trashed
Did something completely different.
Gosh,
it was fun. You got Mr. T to be the cop.
Granted, when your source material's a picture book, you don't have a lot to go on.
Right, yeah. Man, I this is just conjuring all those images of like the illustrations in those books that are so wild. The movie, though, that was 20th Century Fox, wasn't it? I think it was. It wasn't DreamWorks.
I don't think it was DreamWorks.
Was it Sony or was it? Because if it was Fox, it'd be on Disney Plus, which I don't think it is.
Yeah, Sony sounds right.
Irrelevant, but we're doing it anyway.
And this was also This was also Lord and Miller, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Which it's like that's a movie that never should have worked, but it kind of ended up working.
Yeah, it was Sony.
Okay,
Sony. Cool. Anyway, not really
that's
important,
a tangent.
but shall we get into the analysis?
I think we've
pushed it off long enough.
Yes.
Yeah. Truth. What are some truths we can find in Megamind? You don't have to be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. You're not made for evil.
No, nobody is.
It can happen due to unfortunate circumstances, and it can be difficult to get out of because of that.
You are not a gun. You are who you choose to be.
But this is less who you choose to be and who you were meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
It's more about you're destined for greatness, and the greatness is a good thing.
It's sort of you're not really predestined for anything, like in terms of what you do with your life. But there is an element of like choice, but there's also like a wrong way to choose what to become when it's not really lined up with who you truly are. I suppose in the Catholic understanding of it, like there's a way where where you live to your fullest potential, become more of who you are as you mature and advance in your life. If you act in ways that are more in accord with what your natural skills and abilities are, and our understanding of vocation and stuff like that. But applied to this movie, like really all along, Megamind was probably far better like because he wasn't a very good bad guy. Like he always lost until he won by a fluke, And it turned out that he didn't really win. He was just sort of let to win. Where his abilities were better used for the good of others. And took him a lot of...
teleology, folks.
Yep.
Aristotelian metaphysics.
Yep. That's what it really drives at. So, and by the reverse token, there's sort of the, power and responsibility thing.
Hal was given power out of nowhere, but had no sense of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could tell from the beginning he was kind of a skis.
Yeah.
He was kind of unsavory. He was very selfish.
And the power he was given only amplified that.
Mm-hmm.
Where he was similar to Megamind in a lot of ways, where he's sort of like a outcast off on his own, not really liked by anybody, kind of awkward. But the difference between him and Megamind is that that total disregard for other people,
right?
That inherent selfishness. Because even Megamind,
he grew up with Minion.
He thought he was good. He thought he killed Metro Man, and that sort of devastated him.
And Minion is like his best friend and brother,
mm-hmm. Yep.
Technically, yeah, he works for him, and they have the boss minion dynamic,
mm-hmm.
but it's kind of in name only.
Yeah, it's a very mutual friendship.
So it's so he is a caring person who cares for people.
Mm-hmm.
Just he just doesn't know how to.
I suppose that's the other thing with Roxanne's character too. She's very much, she's not a damsel in distress.
And she was never interested in Metro Man.
No.
She the big buff guy with the powers, that was never her thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when, you've got Megamind in disguise being just this smart guy who's kind of reaching her on a level nobody else does. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh.
She expects, as she brings out the best in people, even Megamind, the villain.
Yeah.
Initially taken aback when his true identity is revealed to her, she comes back around and realizes that.
Particularly after Titan goes mad.
Mm-hmm. There's nobody beyond love. Loving. So, and, giving everyone a chance of redemption. And so that's sort of what Megamind's character ends up doing. So,
speaking of chances at redemption.
Yeah, I guess we can get to goodness. Was that?
That might be it for two. I just found a really good segue.
Yep.
I just wanted to use it. Now I've called out the segue. Mm-hmm. Anyway, speaking of segues.
Goodness. What is good in Megamind? I mean, Megamind, eventually.
Eventually, yes.
His relationship with Minion and eventually with Roxanne are two, it's very real friendship and brotherly bond with Minion that he has, and Minion calls him out when he needs to be and that type of thing. And
even though what he's calling him out for is not being evil anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exhorting him to be the best. And Roxanne does that as well in her relationship with him.
Right.
So.
Minion's trying to make him the best he can be. He's just trying to make him the best villain because that's all he knows.
Mm-hmm. And Megamind,
which is in fact to make him the least he can be, because goodness is convertible with being, and therefore evil is convertible with non-being.
There we go. I suppose that's sort of Hal's character, because he's made into something he's not. He's made to be this hero, but he's he never was to begin with. And so that's why he ultimately becomes the super destructive force.
I think it's interesting that seeing Hal become the villain is what gives Megamind this perspective on what actually makes a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And what actually makes a villain, for that matter.
Yeah. Indeed.
He's I was never really meant to be a bad guy.
That doesn't seem like me. I don't want to be that.
Because as cartoonishly villainous as Megamind has always been, Hal's just mean and screwed up and cruel. Yeah. And it's that's not something Megamind can live with. He's what have I created?
Mm-hmm. So both in his own life and with what he's done with Hal.
All Megamind did was rob banks and
fight Metro Man,
the Metro Man
for the fun of it, really. And I suppose, Minion's a good. Roxanne is good. Even Metro Man in his own way.
Yeah, kind of clueless and kind of but like his heart's in the right spot, right? Where it's like, I'm not. He lets the villain win, so it's like, maybe that wasn't a good move.
Yeah, but at the same, probably because he knew Megamind, and he was like, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? He's not gonna know what to do with himself. Like, he even calls him like little buddy at the end of the movie. Like,
right, he shows up at the celebration for him, and he's like, good job, little buddy.
So yeah, let's see, Beauty. It's a 2010 animated movie, and it's pretty good.
It holds up.
The character design's fun. Megamind is very distinctive. With the big blue,
with his with
Megamind. Yeah, animation is great. The voice acting, of course, Will Ferrell is Megamind. All the voice actors do a pretty good job, and yes. Just a very well written, tightly written and presented film.
Yes. And for a 2010 animated film, like where animation was at the time,
kind of a diamond in the rough.
They created a visual style that worked within the limitations, so it doesn't look dated like some movies can sometimes.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is exaggerated, cartoonish, slightly comic booky, but also with the 2010s.
Yeah, it's a coherent visual style that holds up. Because this came out like around the same time. I suppose it was 2010. Was that WALL-E?
No, I thought WALL-E.
I think WALL-E was a little earlier, like 2006, 2007.
Oh yeah, you're right. So no, Up was 2009. So like kind of in that era where like
animation was getting good.
Yeah,
it's still getting better. I mean, but even 2010, it was solid.
So on your must-watch animated films of the 2000s, I would definitely put this on the list.
Also, fun soundtrack. They pull a lot of like pop songs and like there's a lot of
if it were made in the later 2010s, Baldy Eyelash would be in there.
True.
Bad guy.
But like Megamind's a very
flamboyant, or not flamboyant, but very theatrical.
Yes. So he incorporates a lot of like AC/DC into his presentation.
It's like, you know why you're a terrible villain, Titan? Because you lack.
No, you're a villain, but you're not a super one. And what's the difference? Presentation.
Yep.
As he like creates a hologram of his face in the sky to black and black or whatever.
Or it's like Welcome to the Jungle. I think.
Welcome to something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good times. Unity. What brings everything together? Become who you are.
Yes.
That's sort of the message of the film.
Sometimes who you think you're supposed to be isn't
right.
Ite inflammate omnia. Go set the world on fire.
Yep.
In whatever way you choose to interpret that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're villainously as in literally setting the world on fire.
Mm-hmm.
He was like Titan uses his laser eyes to carve his name into the cityscape, but it's Tighthen instead of like
Titan, like the Greek
large boys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh man, set the world on fire. So quick story. We had I was doing I forget, it was like a history lesson or something with my mom back in the day, and we were reading about I forget which saint it was, like a missionary or something. And so we had the bad habit of doing our reading lessons in the afternoon on the couch after lunch. So it was very difficult not to fall asleep by accident. So as my dear sweet mother, was starting to doze off, we were reading about this missionary, and she's like, he set people on fire for Christ. And it's just like too perfect. So that's good. Anyway, speaking of setting people on fire, do we have any more comments before we move on?
No.
Cool. Not a one. Nay, nay, nay.
Sounds good. All right, well, Thanks for listening to the Palladium Papists. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating to let us know what you think of the show, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Papists. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, or suggestions for future episodes, email us at palladiumpapists@gmail.com, and we will talk to you again next week. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.